There I am. Hi, everybody out there in Facebook land. Paul Sterling here, the author of Argue Less, Love More. And tonight we are going to dive into a topic that's really precious to relationships. It's about getting your precious needs met. And this is a huge issue, and it affects so many relationships. And if you don't get it sorted out, you end up, I've got some notes here. Normally I don't even talk from my notes, but tonight I want to make sure I got all of the key points here. So anyway, so many people are struggling with this issue because there's some fear around if you talk about your needs, you're going to sound needy. But if you don't get this sorted out, you're going to end up having lots of relationship problems. So let's talk about needs. And I'm joined by my fellow speaker, Anna Cabrera, and we're going to dive into needs. So what I'm going to say is if you don't get this figured out, if you don't get your needs met and your partner's needs met in your relationship, what ends up happening is the relationship falls apart. It hammers away at your self-esteem. It makes you feel, while it makes it almost impossible to be happy and fulfilled in your relationship.
Come here.
Can you mute yourself there?
Oh, sorry. No. I thought they were eating something. I can't have. I have two puppies here. Great. I will mute myself.
And they're trying to meet their precious needs. And I'm going to introduce Anna here in a second. Anyway, I see so many people in their relationships where they have these precious needs and they don't get their needs met, and it ends up destroying their relationship. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, but before I do that, I'm going to introduce Anna and tell you that it doesn't have to be that way. You can actually get your needs met. Instead of having to beg for them, you can find yourself comfortable, excited, powerful, ready to go. So Anna, you want to unmute yourself and tell us how the hell you got here and what's your relationship with needs?
Yeah, I love this topic because as you were talking, I was thinking about before I came across this concept, I was like a ghost in my own life. And I just thought, I was in a 10-year marriage and we'd make a list of what we wanted to do. And we would we had a lot of harmony, but I really didn't even realize I had needs or that it was okay to have needs or let alone how to articulate them. And so I lived with a lot of grief, a lot of depression, a lot of anger, a lot of feeling numb, a lot of dreaming like I wanted to escape somewhere else, but I didn't really know what I just didn't know. So when I got pregnant with my son, it catalyzed this incredibly, this desire, this drive to figure it out so that I could provide him with a really good life. And so I threw myself into every training I came across and run the gamut of, like how to really create a nurturing imprint in the baby while you're breastfeeding, because it's more than just the milk, it's also the relationship, to cleaning up childhood wounds, to dealing with trauma, to communicating in a relationship. It's like once you know you have the needs, there is an art, and a skill to communicating. It can go really well, or it can, result in a disaster.
Yeah, it can totally be a disaster. And I'm wondering how many people can relate to this topic, not even knowing that you have needs, or not, or feeling a lot of shame around it. I mean, I was in one relationship where I felt like I shouldn't have needs. I could have either a great relationship or I could have my needs. I had a stronger sex drive than my partner, and it was like there was almost shame around that and trying to get that worked out. And we all have different areas where our needs get pushed to the side. And so I'd love to hear from people. How do you feel about your needs? Needs shame, needs embarrassment, needs embrace. And is there any chance we could get a little more light on your face so we could see your radiant presence a little better? And I will keep talking while you're working that out. So what I want to do is tonight give you an idea of what needs are and have you kind of look over and see what's your relationship with them and what would it take for it to be even better. They've got a little more of your glow. Cool. So I'm going to bounce down and go all the way to a list of needs so that people have an idea of what needs are and where do they stand. And so tonight, we want to have it be interactive. You can type in, we can see your comments, at least some of you. Hi, Bella. Hi, Facebook user who says hello, everyone. We don't always get your names, but we will always, if we don't respond right away, it's because we didn't see the comment, because they come and go and we'll get back to them. So let's go back. I bounced around a little bit. It's been an intense day. I'm just going to cop to it. It's been a really intense day. So I'm trying to get grounded here and get going. So Anna, what's your relationship to your precious needs now? And hi, Sherry from Canada.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is, and somebody asked me this other day, like, am I really in contact with all these different parts of me? And I said, absolutely. I have a relationship with my wounded parts, with my divine, or higher self, and everything in between. So there's a lot of security. There's a lot of vitality, and there's a lot of peace. Even when they're not getting met, it's a different feeling knowing, oh, yeah, I really need that. I'm not getting it, but that's valid. I really need that. And then when they are met, I can give more, I can articulate appreciation. But I'll say, also it's a work in progress. We all are downloaded with shame. We're all downloaded with, different wounds. We go through different wounds. And so when I'm in a shame spiral, or when I'm going numb, or when I'm in a fight response or a flight response, it's that I can catch it more quickly. I get out of it faster, and I can give myself empathy on the back end and apologize if I've created a chaos in the meantime. So
can I back you up a little bit? Because I don't want to dawdle on it, but I don't want to skip over. You said shame spiral, but shame around needs. And I just want you to, could you tell us what that feels like, the guilt, the shame? Because I think so many people, there's an expression that says we don't know who discovered water, but we're pretty sure it wasn't fish. And why don't fish know about water? Because they're immersed in it. And I think so many people are immersed, including myself, growing up in having shame around having needs. And so what is that like? How can somebody start to recognize that they are in shame around their needs?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I could do an hour-long, at least, intro course on it. But I'll say first things that come to mind is shame. Actually, one of the things I learned that was a light bulb going off for me is often when someone's in shame, it comes out as rage. It's like a knee-jerk, protective response, or when your needs are not met, you get angry. And when the needs have been deeply unmet or really unmet for a long time, there can be rage or anger. So, I used to have rage attacks. I still do, but yeah, I do, because part of it is what was the patterns ingrained into my nervous system and my brain is like, I'm frustrated, I'm in a rage. But they're less, and when I have them, like I said, I can catch myself more. And so one of the cues or clues is rage. Another clue is feeling like you don't belong. Just feeling like you're lost in the world or you don't belong. It's like when you're in shame, you don't exist. That's one of the ways I look at it. When you're being rejected at such a deep level, like you shouldn't have that need. It's a kind of saying, you don't exist. Let's pretend. And as children, like you're not sad or you're not mad. That part of you doesn't exist.
So yeah, there's this scale, this continuum from needs as a burden to needs as precious. And I love what you were just saying a second ago, so I want you to go a little deeper. How do you take anger, upset, rage, how do you use that to uncover some precious need that wasn't met? So rather than wasting it and just ranting and raving, but it's like, how do you use it to go, oh, what beautiful need of mine wasn't getting met?
Sorry. She's, hold on one second.
So while
she has a need to protect us, and I have a need to, come here, you, come here. There's different things I do. It kind of depends on the kind of anger. Sometimes when it's an anger where you haven't been able to speak your truth or use your voice, then saying it out loud. And I use the car. I know other single mom that use the car too, but anybody could do it because there's a sense, you're contained. And I can go and just yell, I'll go somewhere and yell, or just I'll talk out loud. Sometimes I have those conversations. I was joking with someone said, that thing about if you're talking to yourself, but do you respond? And I said, kids do that all the time. I had to spend like thousands and $10,000s of dollars to come back to that skill of, yes, I do have a conversation. Sometimes just saying it out loud, really letting myself speak my truth, even if it doesn't sound nice or it sounds crazy, it doesn't matter. Just let the words come and listen with a witness, though, not to be lost in it. Like you can just be angry and kind of tumbling around like you're in a dryer and you're just getting more and more mad and nothing happens. Like listening and validating.
So let me play with you in a role play. And in this role play, I want you to go back to pretend that you aren't enlightened and haven't had all the training that I know you've spent all this money on and time.
This is so fun. I love this.
So, and I've taught this. I taught it in prison for 8.5 years. And when I taught this example I'm about to say, one of the inmates said, this is why I've spent 8 years in prison, because he did this. So when somebody cuts you off on the highway, what's the normal reaction?
Yeah, can we swear on this? This is one of the places where it comes out. And I just go, you motherfucker, what are you thinking? And I go, what?
And then,
like, where does that? And it's even more intense, like, God damn, what the hell?
And then let me ask, maybe not you, but what are some of people's other reactions there? What do they do? Like pull in front of them, do a brake check, pull up right behind them,
I
beep
don't do
the
that
horn?
kind of. Yeah, that's a good question, though. But I definitely just rage. But we can do that in a split second. You're this like aggressive or actually hostile.
Right. So why I want to bring this up? This is critical to relationships and even my own behavior. Is
actually,
if you think about it, those behaviors happen. What precious need are we trying to get met? Well, we're trying to actually tell them off and get respect. But if you switched it, so I'm just going to switch it for a second. You're in the car, you've got a car full of kids. Somebody cuts you off. Do you drive crazy, pull up on their bumper, beep the horn or you just get away from them.
And I want to say also the reason when you said, let's do a role play before you were enlightened,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I love this because I really do. Like, that's the thing. I don't shame my shame. I really have appreciation and understanding. There was one day in particular I'd been working on, I'm always working, but doing a class and thinking about the reptile brain. And I realized that, you know what? This protective response, it doesn't think, it just acts. It is in a rage. It's a defensive rage because I want to be protected. And what you said, like respect and safety. And then what you're saying there too, like if there are children in the car, that's part of how I switch out of it as I think about what if I was holding a baby bunny, or what if I were a baby bunny? Because raging can also hurt myself. It's like stressful on other parts of myself that don't want to be angry or just need more tenderness, let's say. And so you bring in, you're probably hearing the puppy meeting her needs with that thing on the floor right now. Bring in that sense of grace and bring in that sense of tenderness and go, whoa, that was scary, right? Yeah, I was really scared.
Yeah. And so part of what I wanted people to see is there's like, if we're not connected to the need, raging and driving crazy and doing all that stuff is almost the normal outcome. But if I get connected to my needs, and especially if there are kids in the car, it's like my need is, I need safety. I need to protect and be protected. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to back off. I may beep my horn, but not as a trigger to tell them to go screw themselves, but it's like, hi, I'm here. I'm here. I just want to make sure you're aware of me. If they're really driving dangerously, I might call the police or something. But the thing is, if we're not connected to our need, our behavior can be really crazy. And it's important to know what precious need I'm trying to get met when I do the behavior. And here's the last part of this, the paradox, and then I'm going to bring up some needs and we can talk about them. But the paradox is, when I studied with Tony Robbins, one of the things he said, what Marshall Rosenberg said, the creator of nonviolent communication, is that the only reason that we ever do anything is to get precious needs met. And the problem is we have so much shame that we have a hard time talking about our needs. So here it is, the most important thing in a relationship, and we can't talk about it. Is that making sense? So
that's where I was. Yeah, does it make sense to everyone else?
Yeah, and let's hear from people. Where are you on it? Have you gotten, is it shame, embarrassed, embraced? The embarrassed part is when it's like, if I was in a relationship with Anna and I expected her to read my mind and meet my needs without me asking, that's when I like my needs, but I'm embarrassed and I'm afraid of making a request. And if she doesn't read my mind and do it automatically, she doesn't care about me. So that's the challenge. So Anna, you want to talk about which ones of these, and these are only 10 needs. There are a lot more. This is like training wheels. And I would love for people to say which one stands out for you as a priority as we kind of go through and describe these. So is there one that you'd like to describe on this list here, Anna? And then I'll do some. Or
the top one caught my attention. I feel like uncertainty and variety, I can handle that really well on my own. But the certainty, trust, and love and connection, it's like even just the security that comes from having someone to hug or, cuddle at night or talk through the day with.
That's a precious need of yours. And we were talking about certainty and trust when we talked about on the road. The reason we're able to drive on the road is because there's some certainty and trust about other drivers, and when they misbehave, we let them know. So Kit from Dunbar, and we have Jeanette from Perth, and Sherry from Canada, and Bella Grace, I don't know where in the world you're from. I'm just doing a call out to people. So certainty and trust, if you think about it, this is why some people get married or have monogamous relationships. Uncertainty and variety is why other people go for polyamorous relationships. Now, as we describe these needs, what makes them universal is that all people have them. What makes us an individual is which one is a priority. If uncertainty or variety is a priority and certainty is second, you're going to have a very different behavior. And so let me ask you, and this is for the listeners out there too, ask yourself, as you see one that's really important to you, but I'm going to ask Anna, when it comes to certainty and trust, what are some strategies that help you feel certain and help you trust your partner?
I just want to say, first of all, that's a great question. That's the second part. Once you know you have needs, then it's knowing how are they met? Like the 5 love languages, and how one person can be giving a ton from their perspective to the other person, but the other person feels like they're getting nothing. So what meets my need for certainty and trust? I love things like frequent messages throughout the day. Just the contact, checking in. Other people want a lot of space,
All right. Yeah. And some people need space, and that, all right. So frequent messages, that's one. What else would help give you certainty and trust?
Just, I'm really aware of my nervous system and the kind of just being in contact when it's calm and peaceful, gentle touch, or just a kind of that solid hug or sitting next to each other.
Got it.
And actually also honesty, transparency, so that I know what's going on. Where do we stand?
How many of you out there in Facebook land can relate to this? So as you think about it, what is it if certainty is one of your top priorities, one of your top 3? If certainty is one of your top 3 needs, what are some strategies your partner can do with you that makes you feel certain? Now, uncertainty or variety is the spice of life. If I cook the same meal every day, 7 days a week, even if my partner loved it a lot, they would get bored with it. So we need to mix it up. And the thing is, if you don't mix it up in the relationship, sometimes people leave the relationship. Like Hugh Grant was engaged to Elizabeth Hurley. And do you know who Elizabeth Hurley is? Anna, or you're muted.
You're asking me? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, People magazine said she was one of the top 10 most beautiful women in the world. So Hugh Grant is married to one of the supposedly top 10 most beautiful women in the world. And what did he get busted for? Solicitation in New York City. And it's like, wow, what precious need. And I'm not making it okay. I'm not judging it. I'm not judging you or anything. But what I want to do is show how strong our precious needs are, that if we don't get them met, we do crazy stuff. So build variety into the relationship. What creates variety for you? This is role playing or whatever it is, or going out and eating or camping. If you live in a mansion, go camping in a pup tent. If you live in a pup tent, rent a mansion, do something. Another one, and I'm realizing this more recently than ever, because I noticed in me, much as I want to be perfect and never be upset, that I had some upsets recently. And so when I backed up and said, okay, what precious need of mine is not getting met right now? And I went, oh, it's right here. I wasn't feeling like I was a priority or significant. And this is critical. Even if we just give each other a little bit of time. So let's reverse roles. Anna, you can interview me about this.
Yeah, and can I say also, as you're listening to us go through the list, you can think about, there might be another word that encapsulates it better for you. Like one of the most important phrases for us to say to each other as a healing phrase is, you matter and you belong. We have a real depth of loss and, and not having enough of that. So you matter to me and you belong. So you were saying significance and priority. You have another, we get these light bulb moments like, oh, that's a really important one to me. You're noticing that's a really important one for you.
Yeah, well, and strategies to feel significant is planning to spend time together, planning, including me in the plan. That makes me feel significant, that you will travel to see me or do something to see me. It's like I feel like I'm part of the whole plan. That makes me feel significant and like a priority.
And you'd also, think about this, a lot of times it's a woman complaining that the man, like, work always comes first. So what are your priorities in life, and where does your beloved fall in those? Because if it's like fifth on the list or something, there's likely to be some friction or, upset. So thinking of ways.
Yeah, and what's also interesting is when you're saying that there's phases we go through in life. One of the people I've interviewed on this program before is Allison Armstrong, who's an amazing relationship coach, and she talks about the phases the masculine goes through, and there's phases the feminine goes through too. But the masculine goes through page, prince, knight. Page, knight, prince, king. And if you're dating a knight, knights are off for the adventure. So they're kind of fun and exciting to be around, but you're not going to be a priority. Adventure is a priority for a knight. A prince is someone who's building their empire, and they're going to make work the priority, and you're going to be lower on the priority. It's important to know where you fit so you don't take it quite as personally. When someone gets to be a king, then their kingdom is the priority. They have a lot more time and normally better finances and can handle it better. But by that time, a lot of times the queen's pretty much like, I'm done with this. It's like, I've been neglected too long. I'm going to figure out a different way of getting my needs met. So that's what's going on. Relationships are more complicated than we want them to be, but they're simpler than we think they are if we understand what's going on behind the scenes. And getting your needs met is one of the priorities for making a relationship work. So anything else you want to say before we bounce to the next one?
I would just encourage people that are listening, or if you watch the replay, think about, get a paper and pencil and take your time, write these down, and then just let yourself brainstorm, daydream, think about scenes you've seen in a movie or other relationships where you've had this, and come up with your list of what's important and how are they met, and just keep coming back to it, and do it as a game, like curiosity, not, oh, look, and you don't do this, but, oh, wow, really love this. How does this feel for you? How do you see me meeting these needs? I remember one time there's a list of 10 good mother messages, and I ran over them with my son, and he was little, and I said, how do you feel? Do you feel like this is true? Do you feel like this is true? Checking in with him. Do you feel like we're connected? Do you feel like I prioritize you? Do you feel secure here?
Yeah, and I'm smiling inside and smiling outside here. But when you said, I want to give people that homework assignment, not just to think about it casually, but to watch, especially sitcom, but watch when people are getting upset on TV. And I know it's just the movie or whatever, but play detective. Go, what precious need of theirs wasn't getting met? and what strategies did they need to get them met. So it's really important to, number one, know what the need is. Number two, try to understand what strategy, what would help somebody feel that their needs are being met. Oh, so you're getting
for play and oops. I would say like security, because they both want the priority spot in my lap.
right. They need to feel significant. So then love and connection. And we all have that desire for love and connection. And part of what you can do to have somebody feel love is to give them the most precious thing that you have, which is your focus, your attention, your presence. Is give them your time. And without it, and see, this is the disease right now, and I'm addicted to it too. But you know, I watch couples that are out on a date, and they're on a date, and they're both like texting. I've actually literally gone by their tables at different times and just said, "Are you two texting each other?" Just to kind of like prompt a little conversation. And it's like, "No, we're not." And it's like, "What are you doing?" So anyway, how do you show love and connection?
Can I say a side note?
Yes.
I was thinking too, you know, we have Valentine's Day, one day a year that celebrates love. But if you really want to go, you know, go into this and get it under your belt, or you're in a relationship or even alone, think, you know, take one of these topics a week and sit with it and check out how it's going and practice doing it. And, you know, just do it with like humility and fun and patience. Because I think that the other 360, 4 days a year, we need more than one day to focus on love. It's really a daily focus.
Yeah, I think it is a daily focus. How can, well, if you look at an EKG machine, boom, boom, there's like flat line, heartbeat, flat line. And a lot of our life is that flat line. And this is an MM. This is a magic moment. So how can you make your partner, and Anna, you said it earlier, it's like, how do you let your partner know that you matter to me? There's a great song by Sarah, God, what is it, her name? If you just put in Sarah Bareilles and you put in waitress on YouTube, and the song is You Matter to Me. And it's like, I play this when I'm coaching couples all the time. This is the theme song of what makes relationships work, is that you let your partner know that you matter to me. And how you let your partner know you matter to them is because you let them know that their needs matter to you. If your partner's needs don't matter to you, they don't matter to you. So, like I said, these are only 10 different, the top 10, but this is the training wheels. There are plenty other needs aside from this. I think one of my teachers, a guy named Marshall Rosenberg, the late Dr. Marshall Rosenberg, who created nonviolent communication, I think he had a list of like 100 needs. So, but I guarantee you this, in over 25 years of coaching couples, I've never had a couple come in and say, all these top 10, we're getting them met at 7, 8, or 9 on a scale of 10. We're getting 7s, 8s, and 9s. We want to get a divorce. We want to break up. Now, the only time that people want to break up is when they stop getting their precious needs met. So if you want a great relationship, you need to understand each other's needs. So here's some more of the needs. Intimacy, and normally we think of intimacy as one thing. Intimacy is sex. And intimacy, it's not. There's emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, and sexual intimacy. And here is the trap. Men, or the masculine, tend to come from here and work this way, and the feminine tends to start with emotional intimacy and work this way. So whoever created the universe had a keen sense of humor, said, here, let's do this. Let's have the two different things, you know, charged like that. So any thoughts on intimacy?
Well, one thing that comes to mind, this can be fun. You can play with this. You can experiment with different things. And there's a breathing technique where you hug each other and the man breathes his like sexual energy in from the genitals to her genitals, and she breathes that up to her heart, and then the woman breathes her love energy out to his heart. He takes the love energy down to his genitals. So it's both of those things. You're like contributing to each other. Sexual love, sexual intimacy, emotional intimacy. It can be like a flow that actually balances and contributes to each other. And the other thing that came up thinking about this, especially emotional intimacy, and how women can just talk and talk and talk and talk. I think the other partner that needs to go along with knowing your needs is knowing how to set boundaries kindly and with grace, right? Because, and also knowing that you want to make sure you do want to focus, is it getting met with your partner, but also where else? So it's not all on this one person. That's a lot of pressure. And just look around at what are your other, I'll let you talk for a minute because she's speaking up with her voice right now. But yeah.
Got it. All right. So let's take a look at, and by the way, I would love to hear from you all out there. What's your number one, number two, and number three need? So if I looked at it, and I'll ask Anna when the doggies calm down, I think, and it changes. I think right now, if I looked at it, number one, feeling significant and a priority. Number two, probably, oh God, I'm embarrassed. Probably sexual intimacy. Number three, contribution. We haven't gotten down there. So, Anna, whenever you're ready, I'd love to hear your top three.
I want to point that out again, just to not feel embarrassed about your embarrassment, to not feel ashamed of your shame. But you just said I consider like we're experts in this, and yet it doesn't mean I'm perfect. And I always am perfectly peaceful or accepting. It's that I have more awareness. And so, gosh, I love them all. But I would say growth is one of my top ones. I just am so in love with growth. Once you get a taste of this, you just want to keep going. That's my experience. I have a passion for it. And attraction is really important. And priority. And I could have put that as my number one as well. If I don't feel like priority, I fall into all my trauma pulls. I'm just living from like a fear stance, or I have to work really hard to, soothe myself and do my own inner work.
And thank you. And some people out there are probably going, oh, how do you prioritize? I can't prioritize. I want them all. And it's like, that's not real. What's real is almost every time you have to make a decision, you are prioritizing your list. Anytime that you have to choose something, unconsciously, you're looking through your needs and going, which is my most important need right now? And what am I going to do about it? So if you look at Anna, who's, is a mom, became mom years ago, like when she became a mom, her priorities rearranged and contribution had to be one of the top things. Now there's some moms or dads, I don't need to put it either way, some moms or dads that don't have that. They don't treat their family or kids as a priority. So what I want you to do though is look and go, which one of these is your priority? Which one's number one, number two, number three? And we're bouncing down. Attraction. This is what brings relationships together. And often what happens is we stop taking care of ourselves. And I talk to couples all the time. I still love them, but I'm not attracted to them anymore. They stopped working out. added a ton of weight. I no longer find him attractive for whatever reason. Our sex life has died. So it's a matter of how important is attraction for you in the relationship? How important is contribution? And contribution, when I'm talking about contribution, for 8.5 years, I contributed. I went and taught in prison, and I ran a volunteer prison program for once a month. I go in for 2 days and teach anywhere from minimum to maximum security inmates these tools, because contribution met a precious need of mine. I wanted to contribute. So, and then and the last one, well, I shouldn't say last one, but the last one on this list is growth, which was the one Anna brought up as her number one. So, Anna, what do you got to say about growth? Or do you got noise in the background there?
Yeah, she's I just love this kind of discovery process. Discovery could be another word that you use. A feeling of expansion. It's like what people get from going to travel. You can also get it from going into your own inner landscape, looking at the patterns that you have. And just there's so much uncharted inner landscape for most of us. It's not a place that we're encouraged to go in this culture for the most part.
Yeah. So inner, outer, these are the top 10. Here's what happens when you think about it. In a relationship, we want to give, we want to receive, and we want to avoid. So we've been talking about precious needs, and part of what makes our needs precious is we think or know that if I meet that need, I'm going to get a feeling. And part of what helps us meet a need is an experience. So that's what we've been talking about. What are the experiences that will meet the need, that will help us feel the feeling? And part of it is you can go, what feeling do I want to feel? The other thing that we talked about, which is reverse engineering tonight, we had feelings that we didn't want and talked about the behaviors and experiences. And out of that, we could go, what precious need wasn't met? When we have these feelings we want to avoid, like I want to avoid anger, upset. I want to avoid embarrassment and shame, which is a challenge because I'm writing here and I'm dyslexic. So I'm drawing and writing on the screen in public. So there's my shame button can get hit really easily right here. So what experiences or what needs do you want to give your partner or help them meet? And which ones do you want to receive? So Anna, let me back up. You said number one for you was growth. And when that was the precious need to grow. So what are some of the feelings that come up when you're growing?
Yeah, and what you just said about dyslexia and embarrassment, I want to say also sometimes how we figure out, it's like in hindsight, or because we haven't been taught to pay attention to our feelings and, or to know what our needs are, is when they're not being met rather than when they're being met. Like I'm angry, I'm frustrated. Why? I might have to sit there for half an hour and talk it through with a friend or weeks, on the same subject to really get to the bottom of it. But growth, for me, it's like, the words that I often fall back on as my, to remember what it is that life is meant to be is to feel delight. We're meant to feel delight. We're meant to feel pleasure and joy.
And you tapped on one. I'm going to talk about this in one of the future ones. I think I'm going to have Monique Darling up as a guest, but talking about pleasure, we almost in this culture have more shame and embarrassment around our pleasure than talking politics or religion or money. There's a lot of shame around pleasure. Like we came from sort of a puritanical world of like work hard, die young. Don't enjoy yourself because then you're being selfish. And so for you to say pleasure here, it's like,
I can't. It's like, just has anyone out there read The Witch on Blackbird Pond? It's an old book that won awards, and it's about a girl that comes from, I think, Barbados, and she comes into the Puritan village, and it's just so striking how her joy and her sense of freedom is dangerous. And it's a really stark picture of what the Puritan culture, there can be a deep kind of body memory, I think, or the cultural imprint from, if you feel pleasure, you might get cast out or, I don't know, burned at a stake or something. It's pretty extreme.
What's wrong with you? Yeah. So let me just ask, and I want people to tie these together. Feelings, needs, experiences. These three things are tied together. So what kind of experiences in your mind help you grow and experience delight, joy, pleasure?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yay.
Well,
okay.
I'm asking them to do it on their side, but I'm asking you so you have an example, or you can ask
growth
me.
For me, I'm so into this relationships and communication and knowing myself. One of the things that helps me grow is taking time with the right kind of presence where I can, look into like reactive parts of me and discover, what are they about? What's underneath there? And it's like untangling the health from the wounded, the health from the wounds. I also love, I could just go on and on. Go ahead.
Well, time with self, looking at reactions.
Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at them. No, you're doing great, I think.
I'm just laughing here because I'm thinking, man, the last thing I want to do is like look at the fast reactions. And this is interesting because I kind of want to get through them as quickly as possible, get it over with. And I think, I don't want to over categorize it, but it does seem like a strong masculine, feminine thing. Like I've been there, done that. I want to move on. And it's
I want to add the piece. I was going to add the piece is it's with an eye towards accessing my highest potential, because I know that if you go deep enough, to the bottom of, as Marshall Rosenberg said, all actions are to meet a need. And so even all these wounded parts have some, I think, kernel of gold in there that you just need to untangle what was wrapped around them to find. Like I find, my greatest energy for angelic sort of devotion and contribution might be locked at the bottom of a depressed part. Or, my greatest, I've just had all this light and love and energy and power. There's a lot of power, like the kind of confidence and feelings of security.
I think one of the things that you're saying, Anna, that goes through that, we both teach this, is being compassionately curious, either with ourselves or with others. Marshall talked about intimacy as the ability, he said, what did he say? How did he say it about loving somebody's pain? Intimacy is the ability to be with somebody's pain and not run away. So that's my modification. I don't remember the exact quote, but can we be with our own pain and not run away? Can we be intimate with ourselves? And I notice there's times I can and times I can't. There's times I reach for Netflix or some other thing.
Well, I want to say also, the times I can't, that's when you want to call in a coach. There's a damn good reason why we're turning on. I binge watch all the time, There's a damn good reason why we're running away. because it's overwhelming and we don't yet have the internal skill set to hold a witness for ourselves or hold it in grace. We just need, oh, not sure what. Hold on one second.
Okay, well, she's got a need for
I think we're
some.
okay. Yeah, but anyway, call in the troops. You got to call in your people, call in help. And don't it's not, I don't want to give a message to put pressure on anyone to think you should be able to do this alone. I just think that's so backwards. We're not meant to do it alone. Human beings are a social species, We're actually meant to do this with a lot of support. And someone else on the outside is not so triggered about it, That's the other thing is people on the outside can hold more peace. They can kind of pull us back from the edge and give us comfort.
Yeah.
We need comfort when we're facing these hard things too.
I'm going to summarize what we've gone through today, that the heartbeat of all relationships, what makes a relationship work, and the only reason to be in a relationship is to get your precious needs met. And if you want to feel secure in a relationship, it's security comes not from getting married, not from making a legal agreement, not from all the rest of it. What security comes from is knowing and meeting your partner's needs. That's what makes a relationship flourish and grow, and getting your needs met. I'm not talking about martyrdom. It's both sets of needs. So part of that is to be able to identify what your needs are, what your partners are, which of those top 10 that we went through a minute ago, which one resonates with you the most, and set yourself up, set your partner up to win, and take the time to explore these precious needs. And what are the strategies? And all of this is just this is going to be a little bit, a tiny bit overwhelming here. This part of this big picture. Oh, come here. It's like, I don't know how we're having dueling dogs here. I'm in California. She's in Washington. And yeah. So anyway, the dogs are both wanting some love and attention. But this right here is a big map of relationships. When I take a couple through and we're working together, we go through these three areas: the heart set, the skill set, the mindset. What we've been talking about today is the reason to be in a relationship is to get your needs met. And I was just talking before I got on this call with a couple, and he basically felt like his needs were a burden versus feeling precious. And we have needs in three different areas: friendship, partnership, and needs as lovers. So it's keep coming into these calls, keep checking them out. We do them Thursday evening, Sunday afternoon. And we're diving into all these different areas. Give you the heart set, the skill set, so you can clean up the past, connect and get present, create possibilities for the future. Understand the mindset, your relationship operating system. Are you sabotaging or supporting your relationships by your beliefs, your habits, patterns, and beliefs? So that's the big picture. If some of you want a breakthrough around this, both Anna and I do a breakthrough session, and it's 30 to 45 minutes. We get clear where you are, where you want to go, what are the roadblocks, what's getting in the way of you getting your needs met. Now, it's a complimentary session, and it's you looking at, do you want to get coached? Do you want help? I mean, I've had coaches for years, and there were years that I didn't, and those were painful years when I didn't get coached. So hopefully you've gotten a lot from this, and we'd love to talk more. If you want a breakthrough, just put breakthrough in the comments or message Anna or me, and we can help you with that. So Anna, any closing comments that you, before I got to do my big thing, two more quick things. It's decision time. So are you going to be proactive or no active? And what one of my mentors, a guy named Tony Robbins, I used to work for Tony, he said, how do you turn decades into days? Well, rather than cutting a path, follow a trail. And you can see I have mapped out a trail to turn relationships around. So that's what I do. And well, I won't even cover that. That's what I do. If you want to get a hold of us, I'm at arguelesslovemore.net, or you just can find me anywhere on Facebook, Paul Sterling or Anna Cabrera. What's your closing wisdom, Anna?
Yeah, it just kind of the recap I would say is welcome to bodies, like welcome to human being. And if you haven't heard this before, you haven't quite gotten this into your head, I want you to know that your needs are really precious and they're really beautiful information. And we're here to support you to sort it out, to get clear how to communicate it, because that's really is what we're here for, is to get our needs met and to meet our beloved's needs. There's
Yeah.
just no more precious and beautiful experience than the intimacy when your needs are deeply met. So I really invite you to be compassionate, have patience, and dive into to having mastery in this. And as you say, you said something about not dabbling. It's not something you just go and go, oh yeah, I have needs, and then forget about it. But really dive in and become committed to mastery in this arena. Yeah.
And if you're going to master it, it's something worth mastering. So the last thing I have is I have a request for everybody that's been watching. And I loved how much people have been typing in and interacting. And what would be a really precious need of mine, because both Anna and I have a need to contribute, part of why we do what we do. And one of the ways that we know we've contributed is if you can type in what you got, what one aha, what's one mini breakthrough that opened up for you, what insight did you get from listening tonight? So thank you.
You got a little frozen. So, and also, yeah, take a moment to thank yourselves for showing up, for spending time, for listening to this. Just we need to take the time to appreciate what we're doing as well, as we're striving towards growth and and more mastery. So I'm not sure if Paul's coming back, but you could just take that moment and really honor the courage and the energy and the attention and the love that brought you here to listen in tonight and to want to learn more. Oh, you can just watch the puppy sleep on my lap here while he's frozen. They're too cute or anything. Got two little ones. This is Rosie. She's a toy poodle. And this is a Link. He's a little Yorkapoo. Oh, I think it just died. Okay, well, let's see. If you have any questions or you want to get a hold of us again, Paul Sterling or Anna Cabrera, you can find us on Facebook. You can go to our websites. And it looks like he's lost connection, but I'm still here. So, what else can I offer to you? Sorry, just a moment while the siren goes on. Okay, I think it looks like Paul's gone, so I'll go ahead and leave the studio, but I just sending love and grace to you all and all my care. And I hope to see you again. I hope to hear from you soon.
Wow, well, my computer just crashed. I'm back on, and I'm back on basically just to say goodnight, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you somewhere out there in Facebook land someplace soon. If you want a breakthrough, let us know. If you want to join my Facebook group, let me know too. And that's where all the past events have been. So anyway, I will see you all soon. This next Sunday, we're doing a call on jealousy. I'm actually interviewing my ex-fiance, former fiance, and we're talking. She's written a great book about dealing with jealousy. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what she has to say on that. So that's Sunday at 4 o'clock. Keep your eyes open for that. I will talk to you soon. If you want to join the Facebook group, just type into Facebook in the search bar, Your Remarkable Relationship, and that's a place you can join me. All right. Have a good evening. Thanks. Bye now.